Hey, what's up? Today we're going to be talking about how to steal your ex from another woman. But before we debate the merits of this strategy, first I'd like to point you to our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, to take our Ex Recovery Chances quiz. It's a simple 2-minute quiz I put together designed to help you understand what your chances are of getting your ex back. We'll run your answers through an algorithm that will spit out a number and tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back and if this is worth your time. So if you'd like to take this quiz and find out what your chances are of getting your ex back, simply look in the description below if you're on YouTube and click the link you see there. If you're not on YouTube, if you're listening to this as a podcast or you're just reading an article on it, all you have to do is simply look around our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, and click the Start Here button. That should take you right to the quiz or take you to an area that will allow you or give you the opportunity to take the quiz. So, with that out of the way, let's get started. One of the most terrifying situations to be in is if you're trying to get an ex back and they've moved on to someone else. Now, before when I would get situations like this, I'd kind of act like this. But now I act like this. Yes! But why? Why is it that I've done such a complete 180 on this situation? Well, it's actually because I've learned a strategy, albeit a little bit morally in the gray area, that works. And today, I'm going to teach it to you. So let's talk about the strategy that has been revolutionizing the way my clients have been getting their exes back if their ex is with someone else. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about how to steal your ex from the other woman. Now, before I begin, I do want to warn you that this strategy might not fit with your morals. All my job is to show you what works and what doesn't work. I'm going to leave it up to you to choose whether or not you want to employ this strategy. But before I begin, I do want to warn you that this strategy that I'm about to unveil to you might not fit with your morals. And if that's the case, that's okay. It's important for you to understand it and understand why it works first before you start judging it morally. You can determine the morality of this after you understand this. But this is what I have found to work the best when it comes to a situation where you're trying to get an ex back and they have someone else. So, the key to quote-unquote stealing your ex back is to not steal them back at all. Rather, it's to present them with a situation or put them in a position where they choose to come back to you. Now, you may hear me say that and think, that's impossible. I've never seen anything like that happen before. That's just one of those clickbait type phrases to get me to hook into this presentation. It's not. What I'm about to show you has actually been proven by psychologists. It has, and I'm going to show you the proof of that. And through my own research, this is the strategy that works best for people who are in a situation in which their ex has moved on to someone else. So what is this elusive strategy that is kind of in the gray area morally? Well, what I'd like you to do is if you find yourself in this situation and you want to steal your ex back from the new person he's with, is to utilize something called the being there method. Now, the being there method is actually pretty easy to understand. It's a lot more difficult to actually implement, but here is the basic way that it typically goes. When your ex moves on to someone else, all you have to do is become a constant presence, a friendly presence, not even trying to steal him back, but a constant presence in that relationship. And eventually, that constant presence will indirectly intimidate the other woman to the point where she will issue him an ultimatum, and it will ultimately lead to their demise, right? So, becoming a constant presence actually does a couple of things, right? The first thing is, well, number one, what woman is okay with her boyfriend constantly talking to his ex? I know I'm not. With my particular wife and pretty much any girlfriend I've ever had in my life. I know my wife isn't okay if I were to be talking with my ex. It's kind of not a thing that you do when you're in a committed relationship. Most people, right? And it also, what it will do is create a natural competition. Sometimes people need to have some urgency, right? Or they need to have a fear of loss. And they need that competition before they can really be presented with a scenario in which they will leave their ex to come to you, right? So by doing the being there method, it creates a natural competition with you and the other woman without you even doing anything wrong morally at first. It will also allow you to compete with his time with the new girl. A lot of times what we need to focus on here is finding a way to monopolize his time so that he's actually spending more time talking to you than he is with his own partner. And then finally, the ultimate goal that we want to happen here is we want your ex's new girlfriend or boyfriend to issue an ultimatum to him. Once he's presented with the scenario, it's going to creep him out or anger him to the point where he will want to break up with her most likely or come to you and start telling you about this situation. That's where you want them. Right, so just to recap, the being there method is a situation in which you're inserting yourself into the relationship by simply talking to your ex or texting him or talking to him on the phone. You're not doing anything wrong. You're not necessarily going to be trying to sleep with him or do anything that crazy or get him to cheat. You're just becoming a friend. You're essentially going to be friend zoning yourself on purpose because you know for a fact it's going to indirectly intimidate the other woman. Now, again, we can debate the morality of this strategy later on, but what I have found from my own research is that it works. And did you know that the being there method is actually backed by psychologists? Earlier this year, psychologists released a paper where they actually started studying the effect that keeping in touch with a past partner, has on your current relationship. And so what I'd like to do is go to Psychology Today. Right, I want to go to Psychology Today and read to you something that I found in the article that will really help you understand why this works. So here's a quote from the Psychology Today article. What implications does this have for people's current relationships? Well, in general, those who stayed in touch with an ex tended to be less committed to their current partner than those who did not. But contact with an ex wasn't associated with how satisfying they found their current relationship. Now, let's pause there. I find that really interesting. The first study they did actually did find that those who stayed in touch with their ex tended to be less committed to their partners than those who did not. But it didn't mean they were less satisfied. Now, I have a problem with that because my own research into this, using my own data, says the opposite. People who tend to keep in contact with their exes tend to be less satisfied with their relationships. But that's why I have this second part actually highlighted here on this Psychology Today article. In a second study, the researchers further explored how contact with exes relates to the quality of the current relationship by examining people's reasons for staying in touch with exes. They surveyed 169 undergraduate students and relationships who said they communicated with an ex at least once every couple of months. This time, the team found a link between contact with exes and the quality of the current relationship. The more frequent the contact with an ex, the less satisfied participants were with their current relationships. There you have it. The being there method is essentially backed by psychologists, and this was an actual scientific paper released earlier this year. Now, we can debate the morality of should you do the being there method or not. It's not my job to debate morality with you necessarily. It's your job to determine if this is within your morals. But this is a strategy that works, and it is backed by science. It's up to you whether or not you should use it.